Hey everybody, welcome to Board Game Heaven. My name is Raymond, and in this video I'm going to talk about the expansion Building Better Worlds for the Alien RPG by Free League Publishing, who were kind enough to send over a copy for me to review. This book is of course about colonization, building better worlds, going out there in space with your colonists and checking out what's there on the outer fringes of the universe, just like in the movies. And this book gives you a lot of new material to incorporate in your Alien RPG games, and also some new characters, new locations, etc. Now, before I open the book and go through all the chapters with you, I'd like to ask you to please hit that subscribe button if you haven't subscribed already. That really helps the channel. And if you're already a subscriber, you're an absolute legend. Thank you very much. Also, please check out my Patreon page by clicking the link in the description below. And patrons of my channel get early access to all of my videos, access to Patreon exclusive content, your name and the credits, and you will also be saving up for physical goodies such as the Board Game Heaven pin. And with that out of the way, let's dive into the book. All right, here it is, the Building Better Worlds expansion for the Alien role-playing game by Free League. Another big book expansion. I think it's just about the same size as the Colonial Marines Operations Manual, with a bit of information on the back, of course. So let's open it up and see what we find. Here we have another star map. This one is different from the ones we've seen before in the other books. Yeah, but it looks nice. You can show this to players, you know, all these different systems where the far spinward colonies, where Weyland-Yutani or any other organization has colonized. And then we have all the chapters. So this is pretty much set up like the other books as well, with an introduction. Pioneers wanted, what is this book about, and what are these colonists, and what are they doing? With a bit of a history here of colonization in a couple of pages. And then, of course, the organization. So all the different organizations that exist that are colonizing space and where they're going. And then there's a chapter on how to make your own character, your colonist character. Just like in the other books we've seen with the Colonial Marines, this was pretty much set up the same way. And then also gear and ships, so the gear that they have at their disposal, possibly, and the ships that they can use. Then we have campaigns on the frontier, so you can get your settings. This is mostly for the game mother again, so how to set up your campaign, you know, and styles, expeditions that people can go on, the challenges they face. Then there's a whole chapter on different systems and colonies that exist in the Alien universe that you can use as a basis to create your own scenario. There's a whole chapter on the different species that you can throw in. Of course, we all know of the xenomorphs, but there's a whole bunch of them. There's the abominations, different stages. There's the proto-xenomorphs and the regular xenomorphs. And some of this we've seen already in the core book as well. But, you know, this is nice and detailed, something you can add here. And there's also a whole campaign here called The Lost World. So this is definitely spoiler area over here. An entire campaign that you can play with characters, or chapter 10 has once again 7 one-shot scenarios that you can play. You can also just mix them in and make them a big scenario if you want, depending on how you want to play the game. I personally do like the one-shots, and there's 7 in here, just like in the Colonial Marines handbook, 7 whole games, sessions that you can play. And there's a bit of an appendix here. So let's just quickly go through it and see what it looks like. I love the art here, a planet and an asteroid belt, ship going through there. And yeah, it just sets the mood, tells you what's in this book. It's basically a complete campaign module for the Alien RPG with all the tools you need to create a story. And again, this is a thick book, so there is a lot of information here. And just like I said with the Colonial Marines handbook, if you're not even per se playing the game, but you're just a big fan of the Alien world, the universe, this is a great read. There's so much information in here. And I just really like reading about that, even though I don't necessarily remember all of it because there's a whole lot of information. I do also read alien novels, and there's a lot of things that I recognize from the novels in this book. So they really did their homework at Free League, and that's something I absolutely appreciate. I also like the setup. Everything in these lighter boxes, that's pure information. That's stuff to help you and the players understand the game. And there's also text in black or on a black background, and that's flavor text. That's a bit of lore that you can read at appropriate times, which kind of gives you a little bit more of a flavor to the game, a setting. It gets you in the mood. So here is a bit about the dangers in space, of course, spatial phenomena, life forms, which we of course know about. We see plenty of that in the movies and stuff like Star Trek and things like that. Remnants of ruined civilizations, and asteroids, moons, and planetoids. But of course, it's all about colonization in this book. So what's the facts here? Tells you about what does a colonist do. There's living on the frontier, out in space, just scraping scraping resources to make a living and survive, basically. So yeah, it's a rough kind of life that you're having as a colonist. And there's a bit of history here as well. So you get a timeline, once again, first explained in text blocks in greater detail, and more of that here. Again, this beautiful art. There's different kinds of things that happened in this timeline. It's all explained. The Arcturian conundrum, biological disasters. There is a timeline in here as well with a line, basically, instead of all these bits of text, to give you a bit of more of an idea what happened. But this is in chronological order, so you can just read through this. And here it is. Here's the timeline. Again, we've seen something similar in the core book and in the Colonial Marines handbook. So yeah, I really like reading through that. So that's just a couple of pages of background information, what it's about, and what happened in the timeline. So this chapter is about the organization or organizations, several kinds of organizations that send out colonists to mine planets for resources and whatnot, or for scientific research. So there we go. Governmental organizations, of course. There's the United Americas, which we've seen several times now. And again, all of these abbreviations that, you kind of need to write down if you're reading through this, because there's so many of these, and I always have trouble remembering what's what. So this is quite a lot of information here. Again, the Colonial Marines, of course, Union of Progressive Peoples, they're basically mentioned in all these books. Three World Empire. This is something you see in all the books. It just goes in a little bit of more detail regarding colonization in this particular book. The independent core system colonies, and I like that they all have their logos as well. We of course all know the Weyland-Yutani core logo, but there's Seegson, which we also saw in the game Alien Isolation, who make the Working Joe robots, stuff like that. A bit of art again. Hyperdyne Corporation. So yeah, a lot of information about these organizations, and you can use any of that in your own stories, what you're going to play with your players as a game mother. And then there's a chapter about creating characters, making frontier colonists. Again, just like in the core book and in the Colonial Marine book, tells you about colonists and cultural backgrounds and family and whatnot, all the stuff you can use. And it also tells you what kind of talents you can use. You have, of course, the base talents from the core book, but there's new talents here, frontier talents, and there's the wildcatter, the entertainer, and stuff that is new in this book, specifically for Colonists, with a whole chapter explaining what all of those are, what it means, even with some cool art here. And of course you can have, once again, a personal agenda, a signature item. You can make your own appearance and give yourself some gear as a player. There's the entertainer, again, with of course different kinds of things to stay in character. And there we go. So here, personal agendas on the frontier, and you can again roll a d66, so 2 d6s, to see what your personal agenda is, or alternatively, you can choose one. And again, here, text in black is background. It's a bit of lore that you can read, and this is more factual information for the game. Tables with stuff you can use, and yeah, lore. So not a whole, very big chapter, just 2 new characters. I mean, you could make up your own, of course, like prospectors and stuff like that. But then there's a chapter on gear and ships, with a lovely bit of art here. These classic space suits that we also know from the movies. Really looks cool. So of course, you've got your weapons, and they have, just like in the other books, their names, their stats, and their costs, you know, stuff like that. So that is really, really detailed information. Quite like that. You get your pistols and your rifles, heavy weapons. There's the flamethrower there, which looks really cool. Kind of rigged together flamethrower, a Flammenmacher, it's a German name there. A bit of ammunition and explosives, even suits and armor, clothing and protective gear, and again, all of that explained in a table with their cost, so you can buy stuff as you progress through a campaign and earn money as a colonist. So there we go. There's more equipment. There's just a whole bunch of stuff here, and of course vehicles, because we have all of these different types of vehicles. We have here an off-road Stinger, kind of like, you know, oh yeah, off-road exploration vehicle, civilian type, even, because, you know, in the rough colonies on these planets, things are, you know, they're rough. They don't have roads there yet, you know, so you need heavy-duty vehicles. Here is a big rover here with the big wheels, and this thing, a Terra truck, all heavy-duty machinery. And I do appreciate that they put in lots of art here in this book. We've seen this one as well in the Colonial Marines book. There's a little helijet here, the Grasshopper, which I also quite like. And yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff here. Your drop shuttle here. You've got a small pressure pod for mining and salvage and rescue missions, stuff like that. I can imagine something like this being a submergible as well. Here is a giant Class 7 excavator. And there's, of course, some other things that don't have an image, but yeah, it's really cool. Here is a table, once again, with all of these vehicles, how many passengers they seat, how maneuverable it is, other stats, and their cost, of course. So yeah, a scientific exploratory vessel, etc. This is just a lot of information. So next, in chapter 6, which is still the player section, is about campaigns on the frontier. So about settings, settlements, the types of settlements there are. You know, you could be terraforming, you could be researching, prospecting. It could be a prison settlement for those prisoners you don't want on Earth or any other inhabited colony. Just send them to some kind of moon where there's a prison. There's mining and refining, new frontiers, etc., etc. So yeah, there's quite a bit of information here. And there's, of course, you need atmosphere processing, because not all of these colonies have breathable atmospheres, just like in Aliens. Campaigns for explorers, for colonies. And there you go. The expeditions, you can go on expeditions, which is, of course, part of the fun here. You can go on a supply and cargo run or salvage, stuff like that. A lot here. There you go. Search and rescue, which we also saw in the Colonial Marines handbook. Prospecting, exploration, you name it. There's a setting for just about everything. And I do love how, you know, how deep this book goes in all kinds of information. It really helps you set up a campaign you can just cherry pick whatever you like to do and play that. And there's enough stuff in here to go on for God knows how long. So yeah, pretty cool. Look at that. Using a tamed harvester. Yeah, big terrible beast. A cross between a giant tardigrade and a huge worm that burrows through rock as easily as we move through air. So, you know, you could use something like that to mine a colony. It's really cool. Yeah, I'm just gonna go through here a bit quicker. Systems and colonies kind of speaks for itself. It tells you what kind of colonies and systems there are and what you can find there. There's a lot of different systems here. You get a little chart, just like in the Colonial Marines Handbook, of where your system is, the planets orbiting a star, stuff like that. And there's, again, there's a lot in here, but you can, of course, make up your own stuff because, once again, it's a huge universe and you can just pick a location and make up your entire own star system and make up your own stories. But, man, you can go a long way with this book. And, yeah, again, lovely art. So there's many in here. Far Spinward Colonies. Oh, look at that. It's just amazing. So yeah, it's a lot of information. And I honestly, I just skimmed through all of these. I just read these bits and skipped the rest because there's just so much information, which was really only, you know, interesting if you're the game mother, because this is the game mother section. If you really want to get into one of those, you pick one and then you start reading and then, you know, using those tables. Now, this is a very interesting part, I think personally, because it's about the extraterrestrial species. And again, game mother section, so spoilers ahead. But it kind of explains and describes all of these different aliens that exist. We, of course, know from the movies, but goes into great detail. So here's the hammer Pete, you know, the hammer snake, and the pathogen popper. There's just a lot of information. You will recognize a lot of this from the movies if you've seen them all, and you might even find some things from several novels in here. And once again, Free League has done their homework because this is very, very, very expansive and detailed. And it's just amazing what information they found. And I don't, you know, they might have made up a lot of this, but it feels like they got all of their information from existing lore. Because there is a lot out there already, of course, not just the movies, but there's books and novels and graphic novels and stuff like that. And it really feels like a comprehensive, you know, summary of the things that are important for colonists here. All right, so we have some artwork. I, again, wished there was more, because I kind of want to see pictures of all of these things. And a proto-xenomorph, which we do know, and the protomorph. There's just a lot of information here. Again, I wish there was more imagery, because I love seeing that. The Deacon, the Xenomorphs, of course, the Empress. Here we have the standard alien Xenomorph that we love so much. So yeah, we have that, a lot to read through. And then we have the campaign, The Lost Worlds. Again, spoilers ahead, of course. Look at that beautiful art. So here we have the explanation of that campaign. So it tells you what happens. There's a bit of a history lesson here. Who are the Fulframen, the children of the two divines. There's a couple of NPCs here that you can read about. So all kinds of key figures in this story. The Great Mother Mission, and some, you know, simple schematics here. I'm gonna skip through this because I don't want to spoil too much. And player characters here and what they're gonna do in this mission. Here's cool schematics of the ship, all the different decks, and then you have the crew. All kinds of people here, characters. More tables about different colonies and the situations there. The meta puzzle, again, I'm just gonna skip this because this is too much spoilery. Campaign events, but there's quite a big, and there's NPCs here, and detailed campaign here. There's even handouts for the players. And after that chapter, there is the chapter with the 7 one-shots, basically, the expeditions. Again, numbered, with some art and with lots of information, maps and NPCs, characters you can play. Look at these maps, it's just amazing. And I mean, I'm just gonna skip ahead here because, you know, there's a lot to see here. And some art put in here and there, not too much. I do like the maps though, I love stuff like this. So yeah, there's a lot of detailed information here, some more handouts there. Look at this is just a whole lot. This is just 7 chapters or 7 missions you can play in great detail. So there we go. There's so much. There's an appendix here as well. Where did that start? Expeditions. Here it is, Aftermath. So appendix starts here with notes on how to create your own better world and your own systems and planets if you need to, because there's already so much in here that you can play missions forever. But yeah, if you're so inclined, you can create your entirely own system and stories, and there's a lot of tables here to help you with that, to, you know, get some ideas and some hooks. So you can even just roll dice and then randomly decide what's going to happen. So yeah, I mean, chock full of information, stories of colony life here, incidents, stuff, and we have some nice tables in the back as well. So we have here a colony sheet where you can give your colony a title, where it's located, when it's established, sponsors, the missions that you are going on, etc. You know, fill in all kinds of information here. And here we have a planet sheet for, you know, planets in a star system, a solar system. So you can, you know, give all kinds of information there and hand that out to the players. And in the end, we have a handy dandy index, and that is it. There's the map again. So, wow, just chock full of information. And personally, I enjoyed this more than the Colonial Marines Handbook, because I'm not that much of a military buff, and there was a lot of information in there that kind of, yeah, I couldn't really imagine that much. Just read it and like, okay, fine, these are facts. But with this, I kind of got more into character and appealed to me a lot more, and also reminded me of some of the books I've read in the Alien universe. So I really like this book. I think this is one of the better expansions that Free League has made. Of course, if you're a huge military buff and you like aliens and the Colonial Marines, then that book also exists. And you can see my other review about that as well on my channel. And it's a good book, don't get me wrong, I love them all. But this one so far is absolutely my favorite. Absolutely recommend this. And so that was my review of Building Better Worlds, an expansion book for the Alien RPG by Free League Publishing, who I'd like to thank again for sending over this copy to review. I really like this book. It's excellent. There's a lot of information in here. It does what a lot of other books by Free League Publishing also do. It gives you an overview of what to expect in this game, in this book. It gives you new characters and how to create your characters, new locations, gear and vehicles and whatnot. It gives you a timeline and all the companies that are involved in this chapter of the book. And it also gives you new scenarios to play. It has 7 new cinematic scenarios that you can play. And it also gives you lots and lots of handholds and tools on how to create your own worlds, your own part of the universe. If you want to make a new, big campaign, there is even a campaign in here to play. So content aplenty in this book, and also the quality is really good. All of their books are made really well, nicely printed, and it's also written in a very comprehensible way. And I think the pricing is fair compared to other books and RPGs. I think their pricing is very fair. And Free League also has regular discounts. There are several events a year, like for example, Black Friday, where they will discount all of their books. There was Alien Day not too long ago, where they had also discounted all of their Alien RPG stuff. So just keep an eye on that if you want a bit of a discount. And then there's also, of course, the PDF versions, which are even cheaper than the physical versions, which you can find on Drive-Thru RPG. So that was that. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And please also check out my Patreon page by clicking the link in the description below or the icon at the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on Board Game Heaven.